Hello, our group is Henry, Ahmet, and Paula, and we're going to talk about the civil war in the US, Germany, Spain, and Turkey. The US Civil War was one of the most important events in American history. It was fought between the northern states, the Union, and the southern states that split off to form the Confederacy. The main cause of the war was slavery, states' rights, and economic differences between the industrial North and the agricultural South. When Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860, several southern states left the Union, believing their way of life and slavery were under that threat.
Hello, my name is Henry and I'm going to talk about Germany. So, Germany after World War II was divided into two countries: West Germany, which was democratic and supported by the US and its allies, and East Germany, which was controlled by the Soviet Union under a communist dictatorship. Life in East Germany was heavily restricted, people couldn't travel freely, the media was censored, and anyone who spoke out against the government risked punishment by the secret police. Over time, East Germans began demanding change, like freedom, democracy, and the right to reunite with the West of Germany again. In 1989, peaceful protests began in Leipzig, spreading quickly across the country with the chants "Wir sind das Volk," which means "we are the people." The movement grew so strong that the East German government couldn't stop it anymore. And finally, on the November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall, which was the most powerful symbol of the division, was opened. Less than a year later, on October 3rd, 1990, Germany officially reunited. This marked the end of communist rule and the beginning of a new democratic era. The fall of the wall became a global and peaceful system and symbol for the revolution and the human freedom sign. So when we look at the US civil rights movement and the German reunification, we can see strong similarities between those two parts. Both were people-led movements that fought against system of oppression, segregation in the US, and dictatorship in East Germany. In both cases, ordinary citizens came together to demand freedom, equality, and basic human rights. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and the US encouraged East German activists showed that nonviolent protests could bring down injustice without war or violence. Just as King's "I Have a Dream" speech inspired millions, the fall of the Berlin Wall, which I talked about earlier, inspired millions in Germany and across the world in Europe. Both movements proved something powerful, that peaceful resistance and truly change history can redefine a nation's values of democracy, dignity, and unity. So just like the civil rights movement helped reshape American democracy and the fall of the Berlin Wall united divided Germany again, other countries also faced deep internal conflicts over freedom and identity. In June 1963, US President John F. Kennedy visited West Berlin and delivered his famous speech declaring, "Ich bin ein Berliner." His words spread a powerful sense of solidarity, reminding the Berlin citizens that the United States stood firmly by their side during one of the darkest moments of the Cold War. The speech strengthened the resolve of the West Berlin population, showing that they were not alone behind the wall. Decades later, Kennedy's message became a symbol of the Western support for Berlin's freedom and was seen as a precursor for the German reunification, as he promised that freedom would ultimately prevail.
Now I'm going to talk about Spain. The Spanish Civil War was a conflict between two sides, the Republicans and the Nationalists. The Republicans supported democracy, socialism, and modernization, while the Nationalists, led by General Francisco Franco, represented conservative, fascist, and Catholic groups. The war started after Franco and other militaries rebelled against Spanish democracy government. The conflict became international when Nazi Germany and fascist Italy supported Franco, while the Soviet Union and international volunteers supported the Republicans. The war ended in 1939 when the Nationalists' victory and Franco ruled Spain as a dictator until his death in 1975. The war destroyed much of Spain, divided its people deeply, and symbolized the wider struggle between democracy and fascism before World War II. The US Civil War and the Spanish Civil War share many similarities. Both were internal conflicts fought between two groups opposing political and social beliefs, and both decided the future direction of their nations. In the United States, the main issue was slavery and persevering the Union, while in Spain it was the battle between democracy and authoritarianism. That's good.
Hey, my name is Ahmet. I'm from Turkey. There was a period in 1970s that was very similar to the American Civil War, although it was not an official war between regions. During this time, Turkish society became deeply divided between right-wing and left-wing groups. The right side supported nationalism and conservatism, while the left side supported socialism and workers' rights. These political and ideological differences caused strong tension across the country. Every day there were violent street fights and protests. Hundreds of people were injured or killed, and many students could not even attend their university classes because of the fear and chaos. The government was weak and could not control the violence or find peaceful solution. Finally, in September 1980, the Turkish military took over the government through a coup to stop conflict. After 3 years of military rule, elections were held again in 1983 and democracy slowly returned. However, the events of this period stayed in Turkish society for many years. When I compare this to American Civil War, I see many similarities. Both countries were divided by deep social and political conflicts. In the United States, the North and the South fought over slavery and power. In Turkey, people fought over ideology and politics. In both cases, communication between sides completely broke down and unity was lost. These events show us what we learned in class, that without understanding, empathy, and effective communication, a nation can easily become divided. Rebuilding unity after such conflict is difficult but very important for peace and progress. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.